I'm ready when you are. I don't know how I'm going to pull this off. I forgot my headphones. I'm not going to use those. We're set? Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Real Estate Plate. As always, I'm your host, Nick Sakalis, coming to you live from the WGBB studios here in America, New York. And got a little bit of a delayed start. Day after Easter, I guess everybody's into that hustle and bustle and trying to get themselves going after having a few days off. Kids are back in school, and looks like everybody's back to business. Although it was a busy weekend, believe it or not, even though it was one of those holiday weekends that a lot of people tend to have a tendency of taking off. We definitely had a lot of action going on in a lot of different ways. Before I get started with the show, I am going to hope everybody had a fantastic Easter. I hope everybody that was celebrating Passover had a great uh, holiday as well. And I'm going to wait for another month until I have Easter. Because, anybody that doesn't know me, I'm Greek. So, we always have to do things a little bit differently. So we're going to have to wait for about a month or so. But that being said, it's been a lot of news again going on. Looks like landlords got another punch in the face by the eviction moratorium being extended once more. No surprise. I was trying to be as optimistic as possible. But, it's hard to be an optimist in this type of environment. It truly is. Try to look at the good things. I try to look at the positive things. I like to look at the productive things. There's no, productivity in being pessimistic. But this is an environment that honestly is making it very, very difficult. Why do we have another extension? What good logical reason do we have another extension to have this eviction moratorium keep going? What's the reason? I'm really pressing that this is a political thing. It's a vote thing. I've been saying this since day one. Maybe I'm wrong. I really wish somebody would correct me and tell me why I'm wrong. Give me a valid reason. Because right now, what is happening is a huge segment of the economic environment is being really, discriminated against. Why are you doing this to the landlords? It makes no sense. And if for all those that are listening right now, if it makes you feel any better, housing providers, landlords, whatever you want to call us, it's not right what's happening. And I want to see where the end game is going to be. Because I'll tell you something. They extended it to June, which honestly, they're going to probably extend it to September. That's been in the talks for a while as well. And guess what's up in June? What has to be paid in June? Property taxes. They haven't put an eviction moratorium. They haven't put a property tax moratorium simultaneously. We still got to pay our taxes. Where is all this money going to come from? There's such a big segment of the non-paying tenants right now that are not being affected by coronavirus. How is this going to be resolved? Tell you, it's not going to be resolved, and the only resolution is going to be is hurting the landlords even more. Is that what the end game is? To decimate the landlord population? Specifically the small landlord population? I mean, they're doing a great job as far as decimating the small business population and the restaurants. Why not us too? I don't get it. It is unconscious what is happening right now. Doesn't make any sense to me. And as much as you think about it, any way you want to analyze it, it's not going to make any sense. Other than the fact that this is either a political play or it's a way to get to the landlords. I'll tell you, it's a vote play. I guarantee you that. Especially here in New York, the mayoral race is about a year away. Governor's race, I don't know what's going to happen with Cuomo right now, but that's not that far away either. So what are they trying to accomplish? I don't get it. I really don't get it. This is a dangerous game. They're playing with the livelihoods of many individuals. And on top of that, forget about that. You want to hurt the landlords, whatever the case is? Do you think that's where it's going to end? The ripple effects and the economic effects that we're having right now due to this eviction moratorium will be felt for not a year from now, not a couple of years from now, for a decade, if not more. Think I'm wrong? More than likely, I'll be around in about a decade from now. Look me up. You'll tell me if I'm right or wrong. I know that a lot of the listeners and the followers have no problem giving their opinions. So you want to tell me now if you agree or disagree with me? Go ahead. You want to tell me in 5 years from now, 10 years from now, if you disagree with me? I hope I'm wrong. A lot of times where I make these forecasts and I give my opinions and I basically give an educated estimation of where things are going to go, it's not because I want it to happen. It's just because I've taken a really good look and I have a full understanding of what is happening. This is hideous. I'm running out of adjectives. I'm running out of words to be able to describe what's happening right now. I'm very upset. Can you tell? Can you tell in my voice, Trevor, that I'm upset? I mean, come on already. Come on already. Enough. Enough. Why? Like, it's like seeing somebody that's drowning or seeing somebody that's stuck in quicksand trying to get out. And you take your foot and you put it right against their head and push them down even deeper. Because that's what's happening right now. We're stuck in quicksand and they're stomping their foot right on top of us and they're making us die, suffocate. It's not right. It's so upsetting. Now, I was part of a national type of conference that was being, I'm going to read some of these chat things in a second, but I just want to, finish my thought. I was part of a national coalition of landlords, and I'll be putting up the video, and I'll also be putting up the links to their channels, and I hope everybody supports them same way you support this channel, as far as getting some traction and getting some attention to them. And it's not only us here in New York. Yes, we are feeling it tremendously. And don't get me wrong, Californians, I know you're feeling it just as bad as we are. Well, almost as bad. We're number one. New York, doesn't want to take a backseat to anybody, especially when it comes to torturing landlords. So we definitely have that going for us. Thanks, Big Apple. But it seems that they're all feeling the same kind of effects. And it looks like it's trickling down. What we're dealing with here in New York and the severe kind of mandates we're dealing with and laws are slowly trying to be implemented in the other states. And it doesn't matter if you're blue states or red states. They're eking and they're going through to all the states. You're taking advantage of everybody. It's horrible. It truly is horrible. The people that are doing this should be ashamed of themselves. They're criminals, in my personal opinion. These lawmakers that are making these decisions and enforcing these mandates, in my opinion, are worse than the worst. Because you're picking and choosing who should have a livelihood and who shouldn't. You're taking away people's opportunity to be able to survive. And you should be really I'm not even I'm getting upset. I'm losing my track of thoughts, because honestly, I came in here with the intentions of trying to talk about this in a rational way, in a really nice, thought out manner. But every time I start to think about it just a little bit, I start to think about it, I get so upset. This is abuse. Chat says, Jennifer Chu, we are very upset too. I can imagine, Jennifer. I know, I could imagine. I know you're upset just like me. This message from driver's seat. I know a couple of cases where non-paying squatter tenants moved out, but left some furniture behind to another squatter tenant to move in. Yeah, unfortunately, driver's seat, I've been hearing these kind of situations as well. I've been hearing way too many of these kind of situations. And this is for me personally, it's it's abuse. It's taking advantage of the system. There's no recourse. People are getting away with basically murder. People's lives, their health is being affected by this. They truly are. They truly are being affected in a major way. And if my volume sounds a little off or in the cases, please bear with it today. I don't have my earphones with me, and I don't want to use the studio's earphones because I don't want to get coronavirus from one of the other hosts. I don't know what the hell they have, but I don't want to get it. Maybe they just have cooties. I don't know. But either way, that's something I wasn't really thrilled about doing in the first place, using other people's headphones. Now, with all this panic and this hysteria, I'm feeling it even more. Another message from driver's seat. Now stores that were vacant in 2019 had to register with New York Housing. Those rents from this point on will be regulated. Now, that's something they wanted to do for a long time. They wanted to be regulating commercial properties as well. It's been in the talks for many years to try to stabilize commercial properties. I know that's going to happen eventually. The way they're going now, I don't know. Let's, you know, some people or a lot of people put their foot down and don't allow this to happen. This needs to end. I don't know how this is going to end. I don't know how many voices need to be heard. I don't know what kind of actions need to take place in order to make this end, but it has to end. This can't go on forever. This is a slow death. This is a slow death. And all the money that they're saying is going to go towards rent relief and this and that. That's all great. What's going to happen with all the people? What's going to happen to all those people that are manipulating the system? They don't have a reason to not be paying rent other than the fact that they just don't feel like paying the rent. Or they think that the government is going to, give them a pass. And they might. But even if they don't, good luck to all the landlords going and chasing them all down to collect all that back rent. And if you get even a fraction of that back, count yourself fortunate. What's going to happen? You got people that are over a year in arrears. In many cases, much longer than that. So what's going to happen? You're going to chase them down. You're going to get a judgment on them, maybe, or maybe not. Now, if you got illegals that are in your apartment, good luck. That don't even have a social security number. How are you going to chase them down? Because here in New York, you can't discriminate against anybody. That means people that aren't here legally, you can't do a damn thing about it. Why? Because that's what the law says. I don't think there's anything wrong with wanting somebody to get some kind of backing or financial stability from somebody like a tenant that either has an ID, they're a legal citizen, or if they're not, if they're working here with a working visa or green card, to be able to get something like that. No, here, doesn't matter. You could be completely undocumented. And good luck chasing those people for rent and arrears. How are you going to find them? You don't even have a social security number. You don't even know if their name is the right name. They could have given you a false ID. And I'm going back to what driver's seat had mentioned earlier, and that's, having a squatter move in. You know how many times we have situations where tenants go into a place and then they bring a whole troop of other people inside the places? A whole troop of other people, and you don't know who's living in there. It's like a turnstile. You might have a one-bedroom apartment that has a dozen people in there, in and out. Who the hell's in there? Nobody knows. You can't do a damn thing about it. And good luck trying to get your rent. Yeah, now I'm lit up. Now I'm upset. Who's listening to me? Nobody's going to listen to me. I'm just another voice, another person trying to make some sense out of nonsense, insanity. How could you bring some logic into a world of insanity? Because that's the world that we're in. So you could get a judgment on these people. Yay, we're going to get a judgment on people. How many years is it going to take to you to recoup any money? Let's say you're fortunate, you could get everything back. Let's say you're that one person that gets a judgment and that person works for the government or they work for a stable job and you could garnish their wages after the judgment. Maybe. How long is it going to take you to get back your money? And how destroyed are they going to leave that apartment for you before they leave? Because we got that other issue happening too now. Because people are leaving. And they're leaving the apartments in shambles. I've had a couple myself. What do you do then? What do you do then? This is from Jennifer Chu. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau Monday morning proposed several mortgage servicing changes to prevent that the agency calls avoidable foreclosures as part of the emergency measures. Okay, so that is something. I hear some music in the background. I don't know where that's coming from, but nice music. But I don't. I hope it's not coming through to the radio. That's nice what they're doing. That the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau is trying to take additional measures. But what about our property taxes? The city has full control of whether they could halt or whether they could continue to collect property taxes. And they choose to continue to collect. And if you don't pay, you're going to get penalties. And I promise you, there's going to be so many people in arrears when this thing is all over with that they're going to just have a ball doing tax collection auctions and sticking liens on properties and possibly foreclosing on it themselves. Yeah, they took away another private entity, which is the banks. And I don't believe in the process. In order to help somebody, you have to screw somebody else. Because believe me, I have no love for the banks and the big financial institutions. But at the same time, I'm not an unreasonable human being. I understand that they're in a business right now. I understand that they lend out the money with the intent of collecting it and continue their business going. And those banks have lots of people that are employed by them that depend on those collections. This is not their doing. Wow. First time I said that something bad happening with the economy, the finances, it wasn't the doing of the banks and the lenders. This all government and politically manipulated. It is. I'm sorry. If you're just jumping in now while I'm live and you hear me ranting and raving and yelling, this is not the way I normally am, or sometimes I am. But I am in a rare mood right now. I truly am. I'm so aggravated. I'm so disappointed. I'm disappointed in the system. I'm disappointed in our elected officials. I'm disappointed of what has happened to us. This was a foundation of our economy. Housing has always been a backbone of economic prosperity and being to improve yourselves. And that's just been taken away. It's just been taken away from us. And if we never had that in the first place and the system was different to start with, and you didn't have a ton of people in the private sector, small business people that scrimped and scraped and saved every last penny in order to make that one investment in their property, to make their lives better, to make their futures better, I could be okay with that. But that's not what happened. They basically put us in the position where, like, okay, you spend your money. Doesn't matter you work 20 years, 30 years to earn and get that down payment down. Doesn't matter. We're just going to wipe that all out. And you know what? It's happening. Driver C, I blame all the digital justice warriors in the government. Okay. Now that's actually a word, a phrase that has been floating around lately. Digital justice warriors, and honestly, I don't even know what that means. If somebody could really give me a understanding of what that means, just like a lot of these different phrases, people are coming up social justice warriors. All right, that makes more sense. Social justice warriors. Yeah, social justice warriors makes more sense to me. Whose justice? Whose justice are they looking for? What are those people going to do when the day comes where you don't have any small landlords anymore? And maybe it's only big conglomerate corporations that are landlords. And I'll tell you what, they're not going to take the same kind of pride that the small landlords do. And what's going to happen? Let's say even if they wipe out those big guys, because don't think that this is an attack only on the small landlords. The big ones are getting attacked just as badly. And they're all in jeopardy of having everything wiped out at this rate. What's going to happen? What is going to happen when they actually wipe them all out, wipe us all out, and government takes over housing? I'd love to see the people advocating for the end of landlords, to see how well they like to have the government or the city or the state as their landlord. You go into any government project, any government housing facility, and I promise you, unless that was built within the past couple of years and still in good shape because it was built into the past couple of years, anything prior to that, you're going to have a rude awakening. Don't take my word for it. There's videos out there. You can go search all over YouTube. Go search all over the web and see the kind of living conditions that you have in government housing. This is not me saying this. When I was growing up, I had friends that lived right by Ravenswood and by Queensbridge. And I went in and out of those projects all the time. And I'll tell you, they weren't great to look at. The living standards weren't beautiful. But if that's what people want, God bless you. And I've said this before. If the government wants to wipe us out, okay. As a landlord, I'll take a step back. I'll walk away. Just pay me fair market for what I paid for these properties so I could move on and do something else. And you take over the housing. Go ahead. Take over. You take over some of the tenants I got to deal with on a daily basis. But you know what the difference is? When they call 311 on me, I got to deal with violations and penalties. When they call 311 on the city facilities and they get violation penalties, it means nothing because it's going out of one pocket and going into the other. How do you find the person that's giving you the fines? How do you get a violation on a building that's owned by the city that's giving out the violations? You can't do that. Am I yelling too loud? Am I losing my mind right now? Am I talking logic or am I like talking nonsense? I hope so. I truly hope so. I just don't want to be one of these ranting and raving lunatics on the air that don't have a point. I truly, even if I wasn't a landlord myself, I believe in myself enough to think that I know the difference between right and wrong. I really think I know the difference. And when I see something happening to a certain sector, a certain group, and I don't agree with it or I don't understand it, I'm vocal about it. Everybody knows I don't have a lack for words. If I got something on my mind, I'm going to say it. Just how it is. You know, is everything I say 100% correct? Well, everybody's got their truth. And I'm speaking my truth. Okay? And as far as I'm concerned, this is my truth. Anybody that's listening right now, if you agree with what I'm saying or you think that you have the same kind of issues I do, you know, leave a comment, share it. That's how we're going to get our word out. The more comments that go out there, the more people that like these channels, the more people that share these type of videos with other people that are like-minded, might give us enough traction to actually get to somebody that actually could do something about it. Because at this moment, we're powerless individually. We really are. We need to get this done in the masses. We need to get people on board, and we need to get a group effort going on. And we're slowly but surely getting to that point. I say slowly but surely because we are going at a snail pace. Because the thing is, landlords in general, they've, you take any average small landlord or even big landlords, they got to where they got on their own back, on their own sweat, without the real help from most people. So they're not that comfortable and they're not that confident about asking for help from others or working as a team, which I understand. When you're used to doing everything on your own without the help of anybody else, it's hard for you to go and say, I need help, or I'm going to join a group, or I'm going to join a team to fight this together, because everybody has their own agendas and everybody's got a different financial situation than itself. But in this case, doesn't matter. It truly doesn't matter what your situation is. It doesn't matter if you're grossly affected by it, if you're affected just a little bit by it, if you're indifferent about it, because it affects us all in the big picture. It affects us all in a major way, because these are the kind of little things that are thrown into our system that chip away at whatever protections we have. And believe me, especially here in New York, we don't have that many protections anymore. Believe me, there's no protections. Everybody knows about the story about the landlord that had a toolbox thrown at him and it's got a restraining order on the tenant, and they live in the damn same building and they can't do anything about it because of this eviction moratorium. Everybody's heard of the situations of tenants attacking their landlords. Don't get me wrong. You got the reverse. You have some bad landlords too that do bad things. Don't get me wrong. I'll give you an example. The landlord that's at where my office is, he's a freaking slumlord. He doesn't do a damn thing in the building. So you got people like that. Look, the landlord over here, this building, the mess he has. This building. We're lucky that he's got people come in and clean the place once a week. I'm lucky that it comes every Monday where I'm with the cleaning people. But You have the situations. You got the bad situations. I get it. I acknowledge it. Penalize the bad landlords. Go after them. But don't lump in everybody else. Don't put us all in the same position. You got people that are doing the right thing. Don't go after them. You know, what's the end game? I keep saying this over and over. What is your end game? Why are you doing this? Who are you trying to hurt? Because at the end of the day, you're hurting everyone. You're hurting the landlords. You're hurting all the people that depend on the economic cycle and the economic web of financial infrastructure that comes out of landlords feeding other industries and other jobs. You're going to hurt the tenants. I promise you. When you can't increase your rent after spending $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 on an apartment to redo it, you know what's going to happen? The landlords are not going to redo it. And then they're going to be called slumlords. Why? Because they can't afford to repair something that they'll never get a return on? That doesn't make any sense. Here's another message from driver's seat. Yesterday, my friend sent me a photo of a damaged apartment. Her deadbeat tenant moved out, a complete wreck, and she left junk furniture that my friend threw out. The tenant returned with the cops. Or to say that he threw her junk out? I hear stuff like this all the time. The only thing I'm going to say is in situations like this, and I've said this in the past, you can't get away with a handshake. You can't get away with somebody just giving you the keys and say, I'm moving out, and then leaving a bunch of stuff back. You need to have a signed document. Please document every single move. Put everything in writing. I've said this a million times. Somebody going to hand over the keys and move out of their apartment. Make sure they give you a key. You have them sign a key release, and that they're releasing themselves from the apartment. Because this is the kind of stuff that could happen. This is the kind of stuff that could happen. I see this all the time. All of the time I see it. And it's not going to end. Unless the law is dramatically altered, this is not going to end. This can't continue. I'm not sitting here and giving everybody my pity. I don't want everybody's pity. I'm not going to cry about it. I'm not yelling. I'm not stomping like a spoiled brat. I'm another human being, just like every other person on this planet, that just wants a fair shake. Just like all the small landlords want a fair shake. Driver's seat just continued. Yes, she wanted compensation for her junk pissy mattress. Oh, that's nice. If the tenant owes the rent, they aren't signing anything. Well, here's the thing. At that point, I get it. A lot of times, if they owe a lot of rent, they don't want to sign everything over because then they basically state that they're releasing it, but they still have the debt. Well, here's the thing. If they don't sign anything, the debt that accrues going forward after they move to the place is going to continue. Because if you don't get a release of that and you have to go through courts in order to certify that the place has been vacated. That's another month to 2 months that they'll be, you know, responsible for. That doesn't mean anything. I just said that judgments don't mean anything at this point of the game. But if that's what they're worried about, they're just going to have higher debt at that point. But that's, one thing. The other thing is, as a landlord, you got to make a decision. When they give you those keys back, are you going to waive the back rent in order for them to give you your apartment back? Or are you going to go after it? That's a decision you have to make at that point. Sometimes, depending on how much debt is there, we might turn around and cut our losses and basically say, listen, just sign this. I'll waive you of the rent. As painful as that sounds, it might cost you so much more down the line as far as trying to go after it and legal fees that accrue. And don't forget this, even if you could go after all the money at the end of the day, you're going to have a collection agency going after it. They're going to take their percentage out. You're going to have these issues going on. Florin Pluto, donate to me some property. I'll tell you what, Florin Pluto, maybe what we'll do is we'll donate to you some of this government property, and you could do whatever you want with it. Because right now, there's enough donations going on for free living under this eviction moratorium. It really is. It's a shame. It's sad. I don't understand. I really don't understand where the logic is. And I've said this numerous times during this show, where the end game is. What's this agenda? Is it going after giving total control over everything? Is it about taking away any type of strength or any position of power somebody might have? I don't know. It's pretty hypocritical of the position a lot of times these lawmakers take of where they, tend to draw a line in the sand and basically say, this is acceptable, but this is not acceptable. You could do this, but you can't do that. I've said this before. I really think Big Brother is really taking full effect. George Orwell was right on to something with 1984. There really is a lot of truth reading through that. And just to wrap up what I was just saying on when somebody moves out, I'm going to say this piece of advice again. If you're in the position where you can have full surveillance systems on your rental properties, cameras, do it. It's worth the expense and it's worth the effort, because those surveillance systems are going to be your proof. You don't want to ever get into a position where you're going to the courts and you're, fighting and trying to do the he said, she said thing, because you rarely do you win. Because there's always two sides to the story until you have proof. Once you get that proof, You could get away with it. It's crazy what happens with landlords in New York. People from Europe think America is better. It's from Flora and Pluto. It's funny. It's funny you said that because I got a lot of ties to Europe as well. I'm originally from Greece and I'm well familiar and I do a lot of business with people over there as far as how restrictive their housing is as well. Greece right now is far more of a socialist country than it is over here. A lot of the stuff is paid for by the government, and they have a lot more demands of the private sector than what you would expect. This is coming from the, birthplace of democracy. Once upon a time, Greece was the, champion of the people. Not so much anymore. And your Flora and Pluto, your message actually strikes a chord with me because I feel that all the time, and I hear that in the conversations all the time. Europeans do have a different belief and a different understanding of how things are over here. They really do. And maybe one day they'll find out how it is. Maybe one day they won't find out, but I'll make sure. I'll make sure as damn hell that I use this platform to educate people in the best way I can. Now that being said, we're at the end of the show. I'm out of breath from yelling. Another reason why I should quit smoking. I hate to end the show on a somber note, on an aggravated note, the way I am right now. So what am I going to think of? Well, what am I going to think of right now to live on a happy note? Because I can't say it can't get worse. Because it does. Every time I say it can't get worse, it gets worse. The only thing I could say is keep up your spirits, stay strong, get involved with as many groups as you can. If you're tenants out there that have aspirations of not being tenants your whole lives and making the move to own some property in the future, this affects you too. Take note. Support the landlord groups. Do everything you can for equality across the board. And let's avoid having this class warfare and this class discrimination because it could only get worse. Quick note, the seller's market is still roaring. Low inventory is still out there. We'll get to that on the next show. But until then, I'll be back with you, just like every Monday from 6 to 7 on the Real Estate Plate. Have a great week. Make lots of money in real estate. And God bless you all. You can tell how upset I am.